theme of the manhwa that we will discuss this time focuses more on gardening activities, alchemy and building civilizations, and also maintaining various mythical creatures that the MC accidentally encounters. And the story is set in the country of South Korea, more precisely the city of Seoul in the year 2000 at that time. The lives of its citizens were running as usual. There seemed to be a lot of community activity there. They passed along the city streets entering lunchtime. Indeed, the middle of the city's bustling atmosphere, among the local residents who were happy to mingle. There were also groups of foreign tourists. All the way they came from all over the world to this city because of the pop and K-drama fever that was crazy invading the world. And as usual, the name of the comic storyline, Such Peace Will Not Be Possible for Long, it just appeared that at that time, in the middle of the location of the capital, there was a kind of dimensional crack, dark black in appearance, as if trying to tear the air. There was also a lightning strike purple squeaking sound, yes, after a wide enough dimensional crack was formed, also appeared from behind it a collection of strange creatures, which so far can only be imagined by people who are there only in movies or fiction stories. How not the size of their bodies is much larger than humans. Their appearance is creepy dark green skin, equipped with sharp fangs and some sharp horns on the head. In short, chaos was the situation of the peaceful city that was made afterward roaring forward without a signal to target and want to prey on all the humans. They saw all the creatures that the big axe they carried had swum to spread fear, screaming panic. Also, the whole city made it, so that it changed instantly the situation there in just 5 minutes. However, surprisingly and somehow the background has come from another direction, a group of human troops who have special powers to save the citizens of the city by pressing back and eradicating all invasor creatures that come to Korea. Their first appearance was a variety of weapons used by the magic of releasing light from the hands, and very strong hitting power that they could show as if they had been prepared by the creator to match the horror of the creatures that threatened human life. Well, they are known to humans as Hunter in the end, and not without reason they volunteer to face all the strange creatures like earlier. Every time they succeed in eradicating the monsters randomly, various strange items they can also get. The various formations are in the form of coloured crystals. There are materials for making weapons or armour. There are various kinds of liquids with different functions, and so on. All the items they get can be used to strengthen their bodies in the end, and in short, since the discovery of various interconnected mechanisms, the era of the hunter began in the world. And with that, time has passed just like that now. Let's take a look at the appearance of our NC. He is Jiha, an ordinary teenager who has not long graduated from high school. His stature is very ordinary. His skin is pure white, typical of children of rich people. His hair is brown, inherited that colour from his father's side. Wearing glasses too, he has been since he was a child, because of the unhealthy habits he has been doing for a long time. And today, just like any other teenager of his age, Jiha went to the Hunter Association's representative office not far from his house. He was greeted kindly at the office by a young employee who had readily entered all the data Jiha had submitted into the association's special portal. In about 3 minutes the process took place, and out came the official assessment results from the association. Mr. Jiha: honestly, sir, this is the first time I have seen a hunter who has a class as a worker. Are you sure you don't have any special skills or other characteristics that can distinguish you from the others? Asked Paul, the employee earlier, who without hesitation also acknowledged Jiha, also all the shortcomings he had. Yes, lady, like that is indeed the situation I received since I first received the awakening system, Rama said while smiling slightly without any intention of flirting, and with that without feeling it. Jiha's days as an official hunter she lived as usual afterwards. There was no regret that she felt, even though she didn't have the ability to fight like the other hunter. There was already her own way of life, that she chose to play a role as a shopkeeper for the special hunter needs that she built, always making Jiha's lips smile every time she served consumers who came to her shop. Yes, using the money that may have been inherited by his parents, he has built his own small-scale business. Jiha's own shop stands in one of the crowded areas. The items he sells are all the supporting needs that all hunters need if they want to enter the open dungeon as seen today. Coming to his shop is a young married couple who want to buy several bottles of potions in Jiha's shop. From the conversation that took place between the two parties, it is quite popular apparently that the shop that Jiha takes care of is rumoured to have spread to all hunter forums. If there is one hunter needs figure in Korea that is taken care of by the only hunter who has no fighting skills at all. It's also common for Jiha to face questions like that. Yes, miss, because I don't have any fighting skills at all. I often go into the dungeon as a cleaning team with other scrap collectors. Little by little, I collect items from monsters for me to process into items that I trade in this shop. Just calm down, you two. I have licensed and legal all the items I sell, she answered while laughing casually to her two visitors. This is how Jiha's liveliness is not strange at this time, if he often sees in the city there is a long accompaniment of military combat vehicles that passed by on the streets of the city, because along with the changing times the military throughout the world has synergized totally with the hunter to suppress the threat of dungeon creatures that can anytime spread terror and create chaos in every corner of the world. It's a pity that I couldn't get into the dungeon. They were aiming for if the class was level 3, of course. I wouldn't have been called by the association to get into the cleaning team, regretted the Jiha at that time, and had returned to the shop again after sending out the two customers earlier. Jiha has been working as a hunter for 5 years so far. His days are spent as what we have described above, and in his free time. There is only one activity that he has been doing so far in his shop, which is reading various ancient books that he bought at the market. This hobby is also what makes Jiha have to use glasses, because he often reads in low-light room conditions since childhood, and the book he is reading today is a green-bound book. Jiha forgot when he bought it, because the language content in the book is difficult to understand from other books, so he is a bit reluctant to read the book, and put aside reading the book compared to other books. But yes, the stock of ancient books was running low. There was no other choice in the end. He had to squeeze his brain stronger to read this one book. It's true that the longer he read the book, the more drained the energy he had. The heavy drowsiness this Jiha made, limp and dazed became his body, and without him being able to refuse it, just drooped his body leaning on the table. Falling asleep, he was still in the position of an open book, and at this moment, a miracle is more directed to the grace obtained by the Jiha just like that. It appears from the pages of the book that shows a picture of a large tree that has come out a beam of bright green light. The nuance is getting brighter. The light wraps Jiha's body as time goes by until finally the was is guided by Jiha's consciousness, who is still asleep, to enter a different dimension that he had never seen before. Our MC, half awake, opened his eyes at first confused. He found when he realized he was lying now his body was on a pile of dirt with a wilderness background that was very fresh air. "Where is this place?" asked Jiha himself, while standing up, and he just found out that the thickets of shady trees and thin cold fog have now spread around his location. "Is this a dream?" he also said, while pinching his cheeks and trying to summon a system board that he should only be able to access in the expanse of the fantasy world. Jiha's working class explained the system board to Jiha, which also contained a series of weak statuses he had. "Why is it still the same, like my usual status? Is this an illusion, or have I moved to another dimension?" he muttered again, and only then did he realize that the conditions of the forest he came to accidentally were a little different from all the forests he had ever been to. How not so far he could not hear any small insect sounds that should be screeching to fill the expanse of the forest, especially not the visibility. He had to pay further attention to the condition of the forest, because of the white mist that limited his visibility. The only thing that seemed very clear that could provoke Jiha's focus this time was a black dead tree covered with tree moss. Half of the top was missing, as if it had been struck by lightning, and also growing not far from the tree was a row of small bright yellow plants on top with brown stems that were in the form of irregular zigzags. "I've never seen a plant like this before. What type of little creature are you?" joked the young man, as if asking, and already appeared, just like that now, in front of his eyes a blue system board that explains all the information that the strange plant has. "Aether herbs make the aether consumption of all skills 0 for 10 seconds, explained the system board to Jiha, who did not also find it strange that he found the sudden appearance of such a system board, because it was common for the hunter to find the sudden appearance of a system board like this that could explain some information about the objects they encountered. And of course, after reading the detailed information from the plant, immediately felt amazed Jiha was made. Aether, or we can also call it mana, is needed by all hunters. All attack or support skills that they cast always require aether if they want to be used, and if there is a potion that can make aether consumption 0 for 10 seconds, it will be very excited about this Huntron world, thought the Jihan while holding the herb earlier, but unfortunately she didn't think she brought a bottle to this place to harvest a little liquid from the herb. And had also distracted him there at that time was the appearance of the burning tree bushel behind the aether herb that looked skinny, lacking nutrition leaves that grew from the small twig, gnarled sheets, slightly brownish in colour, indicating a very lack of food intake from the soil of the leaves. "I'm not sure if this is a good idea or not, but I'm sure it's a good idea, and I'm not sure if it's a good idea or not, but I'm sure it's a good idea, and I'm not sure if it's a good idea or not." 4 new notifications now appeared again in front of him in Friendliness to Plants Level 1. You have obtained the skill Friendly to Plants Level 1. Blessing of XXX Lv.1. You have obtained the skill Blessing of XXX Lv.1, and 2 other notifications indicating that this Jiha not only gained skills, but also trades that he had never had before. Well, while Jiha was astonished by the contents of the 4 notifications, an extraordinary phenomenon had also been revealed by the small twig he had just planted. Like a voracious creature, the twig, so changed to grow quickly now, hundreds of new roots sneaked them deep into the soil layer. Slowly golden light has also burst out of the root skin, so bright that the situation on the surface, and gradually disappeared completely the old tree that Jiha had picked up the gnarled branch. A miracle that happened in that place, and Jiha had been forcibly kicked back into the shop again. Again, he thought all this was just a dream at first, but if he wiped the glazed eyeballs, he could find that there was still loose soil attached to his hands, a sign of the real events that had passed earlier, he thought, and obviously the hunter's instincts that he also had made him immediately accept the situation. There is no strange thing indeed in the world of this era if humans can have unreasonable strength, if monsters can be present in the expanse of the earth. It is not impossible, Jiha thought, if he could also come back to the place he visited earlier. The way only one, I just need to fall asleep again, convinced of his own, and sleep again after that youth. And it was also true that her guess moved back now. She was in the same location, but the difference was that she could find that there was already a little blurred white mist cover that covered the forest snarl compared to before, and also Jiha could see that there was one yellow object that immediately attracted her attention, hanging on one of the nearest trees. Level 1 Solar Apple, when combined with HP potions, can increase healing ability by 20% and reduce the duration of healing needed by 80%. Explained the system board to Jiha, who again made no sense of all this information to him. How could it not be that even in the highest rank dungeon, it was extremely difficult to find this type of apple, let alone its healing ability that could reach 20%, beyond the reasoning of this discovery from the many HP potions that were successfully made and sold throughout the world. The healing ability was only up to 10%. The taste was very unpleasant, and the recovery process was also very slow to be felt by all the hunter. But look at all this, and the most surprising thing is that not just one, but a lot of apples of that type are already around the Jiha flourishing and ripening all on the branches of the shady trees around the location where he is standing. The jackpot is all this, and if I can mix the properties of this solar apple with the aether herb, I think I'll be able to create a potion that has an extraordinary effect in the future, murmured the young man impatiently, and Buck had already fallen from the sky to hit his face there. A brownish cloth bag, which apparently was a dimensional bag, was noticed by the Jiha. I was just thinking about bringing a little raw material from here to take home, but look at you already giving me a pouch to use as a container. I honestly feel scared here you are watching me from up there. Jiha said shyly there while looking closely at the sky. Well, in the bag had also been filled with several bottles of red liquid. Not sure what we were in it, because without checking it further, Jiha had already harvested a large harvest, first picking some apples and harvesting some parts of the sap from the aether herb for him to take home to his shop. And with that, the time passed just like that the next day. Located in one of the leading hunters' needs stores called Hunting Ground, a great commotion was happening there. It was not a demonstration or a middle about to loot the contents of the shop of the hunters who came to this shop. The lack of stock of goods that the shop had, which also coincided with the opening of the new dungeon that the hunters were about to enter, causing an uproar of unacceptance from the hunters who did not get the various kinds of potions that they really needed. Some of the frontline salesmen seemed to have been overwhelmed here, facing the hunters babbling. Meanwhile, the hunters who had been satisfied with chatting with the salesmen had also begun to busily send their respective assistants to look for other hunter needs shops that might also sell various kinds of high-end portions, like those sold in this shop. And unfortunately for the owner of this shop, one of the high-end female hunters named Seo Heejin, the Sword Witch, had also come to his place of business. That was the title she had for information. "Call your manager to meet me right now," instead of being firm, when he entered the shop, and murmurs full of praise could already be heard muttering from the mouths of other hunters. How not already a kind of celebrity this Heijin for them. Her face often appeared on the screen, not to mention the sparkle of all the equipment she wore. There was no mistaking the hunter's words there. If the luxury items she wore were Dropan equipment from the level 4 dungeon boss. He deserves to occupy the position of the 12th strongest hunter. Look at it up close. It's just tightness in my chest made by him. Well, not long after the Heijin arrived, she was running around frantically approaching a man with glasses who was the manager of this shop. "Nice to see you again, miss. I'm sorry I'm late to greet you. I didn't know if you would come directly to our shop." "Ah, never mind, I came, because you didn't pick up my phone where are all the orders I had made yesterday. I'm sorry, miss, because there are too many requests. We can't provide your order on time if you want to wait for about 3 hours. Maybe our team will be able to prepare all your orders." The manager's timid reply to the Heijin's question that seemed a little urgent was not enough time. The Heijin immediately he had to finish preparing to enter the dungeon in the next 30 minutes. And that's why, just like the other hunter had opened his smartphone, also the Heijin here searched the application for the whereabouts of the other hunter's needs shop at the same time, in another place to be precise. In his shop, the Jiha, since yesterday, had not had time to sleep. This young boy was concocting various potion compositions that he would make using raw materials from the magical dimension he came to yesterday. Until finally the conclusion was obtained by Jiha that he would make potions using raw materials from the magical dimension he visited yesterday. Until in the end, Jiha came to the conclusion that the ingredients were most suitable for him to mix into his new type of potion. The bright yellow color of the mixture of several ingredients that he had tested was just one step away. By purifying the residue in this liquid, I think I will succeed in the end. He muttered to himself there and began to pour the yellow liquid he had made earlier into a test tube containing another liquid, and unexpectedly checked a new notification that he had been waiting for since yesterday now appeared right in front of him. Alchemy level 1. You get level 1 alchemy skills, now special potion level 1. Effect 1 for 14 seconds. Since drinking this potion, Hunter does not need ether at all when using skills. To recover 14% HP from the maximum amount within 15 seconds. Explained the system to the Jiha about the new skills he got, and also a description of the positive effects that the potion can give to anyone who drinks it. Of course, Jiha was very surprised, because even some of the hunters who labelled themselves as alchemists so far were known to have no special skills directly related to alchemy, let alone the effects of this new homemade potion. Who did he think would believe if he explained to potential buyers the very crazy effects that his potion had could be labelled as a cheater later before being able to sell it? But it's okay if I first check the truth of this notification. If it's true that everyone wants the contents, then I will sell it in general, said the young man there while shaking the contents of the yellow liquid in the bottle earlier. And not yet had the Jiha moved his new homemade potion to another place already came the hygiene to his shop. Without much ado, the girl simply asked if the yellow potion was a healing potion or not. Answered Jihan yes, of course, but he had not yet had time to explain if this potion was still a trial. Just took the potion by the hygiene. I don't have much time, this money, just take all the change. If you don't, you just call my manager at the office. You must already know which office I mean, hurriedly Hijin said to the Jiha, and immediately ran away, leaving the shop. Just like that. Well, the proof of the effect of the potion, located in one of the dungeons that opened that day. Yejin, the hunter girl who had met with Jiha earlier, was shown moving to and fro. Solo party. Apparently she is another hunter who she brought, is just a cleaning team that acts as a drop picker from hunted monsters. And there are only 2 people. What to relax our work if this continues afterwards. I think we will get paid quite a lot, seeing how much loot we managed to collect, said one of the cleaning team to his friend, who seems to be more accustomed to seeing the hunting scheme carried out by the Yejin. I told you, but if you want to know, it's only been a few years since the Yejin hunter was able to run the dungeon this fast, and it all started since that incident, he replied, and not before his friend got an answer to what he meant earlier. The aura around where they were standing had changed rapidly. You two'd quickly leave this dungeon, yelled Yejin in front of there, because it has appeared now near their location, a monster that is very large in size, not only large, covered in a very dense aura of death. The monster was in the form of half a humanoid, half a scorpion, which is now hissing angrily at them. Manstalker, that's the name of the monster, is a class of monster that shouldn't appear in a class 3 dungeon like this. There's no point in you guys just standing there. Quickly secure all the items we've got, added the Yejin again, and has advanced just like that now. The girl casts her mainstay illusion sword skill, and appears now around her 6 bright light sword blades from behind a unique symbol, and immediately blasted the Yejin, just like that, into the monster's body. The dumpling is very loud from his flagship attack, and the monster's defense no doubt creates an explosion pressing the air. Slash the Yejin sword by his enemy is not afraid. He is relying on the hard shell that covers his 2 claws in the tripe, as well as the girl's body with Peckham, throwing away the tiny body of Yejin towards the back to the point that all the trees that crossed his bodies lays at. He's so strong that if only Oppa was beside me this time, we would have easily defeated him. But he's not with me, no matter what I have to save the 2 hunters I brought with me this time." Yijin muttered to himself, and immediately reached into his dimension pocket. He took out the healing potion he had bought from Jiha earlier, and how surprised the girl was made. It's already bought that he actually sipped the pengar flavor of the healing potion. But what kind of potion? Does this taste refreshingly sweet and stranger than it feels? The turmoil of increasing the aether in the body can also be felt by Yijin, already filling every inch of muscle in his body. Yes, not wasting much time anyway, Yijin felt that the capital was confident and determined. He shot faster. Now he faced again with the monster, and he had already cast one of the attack skills that brought him to the peak position as it is now. "Powerful sword rampage," shouted the girl in front of there, and changed instantly. Now her body movements became crazier. Like a dragonfly racing slash, after slash the Yijin's sword was now slashed at the monster's SI body, as if there was no gap. There was no room for the monster to avoid it, completely swept away now that his big body was. Fell prey to the tornado of sword energy that had succeeded in tearing and splitting all parts of his hard body. Sarit died. She was not seen by Yijin that last moment, because she still felt very shocked, this girl, while looking at her own sword. What kind of potion that man sold to me, who he really is? Still asked this girl to fulfill the final panel, and with that time passed just like that the next day, just like that, our guess is that Yijin, who has been resting for 1 day, has now come back to his shop, Jiha. The conditions are crowded at that time. No matter how crowded this condition seems to be by the girl of this death, approached him directly to the cashier's desk, while making a loud voice, asking what potion you sold me yesterday. Yes, surprised of course. Jiha had a very strange customer like this, which fortunately this Yejin's attitude immediately changed when he heard the utterances of several hunter who were there discussing his success in the dungeon yesterday. "Wajo, I'm sorry." "Oh, never mind, miss, is there a problem with the potion you drank yesterday?" "Oh sure, what kind of potion problem? Is it my HP recovered by 14% in a very fast time moreover? I can use my skills without aether at all this big problem," replied Yijin just like that and instead returned praise from the Jiha, who expressed his congratulations on the success of the girl. "The truth is that it wasn't me who excelled in the dungeon yesterday, but the potion that you won was the main star." "Where did you get the potion? Did you make it yourself?" asked the Yijin again to our NC, who did not hesitate to show the main raw material for making the potion to the Yijin. Not much debate fortunately took place at this point. Jiha's secret was also still awake, and after chatting for a long time still about the potion's ability yesterday, the Yijin looked around afterwards, paying attention to Jiha's merchandise, which was neatly lined up in the shop, until his attention was drawn to one corner neatly lined up in a wooden box in the corner. There are dozens of potion bottles with unusual colours. "Oh, that's potion as resistance, miss." "Ha, what's the effect?" "Yes, just like the name of the potion, it will give you immunity to ES elements by 32% for 40 minutes, replied plainly Jiha. Just like that. And again the potion quality record was broken again thanks to the latest product made by this Jiha. Why is that? Yes, it is clear that the top quality ice resistance potion in limited circulation so far can only provide immunity to the ice element by 10%, and it only lasts 15 minutes, so naturally it is back to upsetting the Yijin, who immediately asked where this Jiha got the potion. So we can also say that it was very impolite that the Yijin always questioned the secrets of other people's kitchens that he already knew were traders. While looking back to a few days back, Jiha, who at that time had harvested the solar apple, apparently took the time to go around the magical forest that he came to, and at that time Jiha could also find other types of plants that he could harvest. Winter strawberry level 1 ES resistance of 20% for 30 minutes, explained the system board to Jiha, and thanks to this raw material, the alchemy skill she had was able to break level 2 because she made a new potion using the winter strawberry. Back in the shop information, the reason that Jiha always emphasized to Yijin about the source of all the potion raw materials he made was that he got it from the dungeon so far, which of course could be realized directly by the girl as she only made up Jiha's information. Nor did he want to continue asking further, because he could only realize this if it had entered the realm of each hunter's privacy, and all the ice resistance potions he saw in the store were immediately bought with a lot of cash by Yijin afterwards. But miss, this money is too much, It's actually still less to make up for this class potion. By the way, what's your name? Asked Sayajin. He began to soften his attitude when talking to our MC, and so the sweet smile from the girl who got the answer from Jiha became the cover of the two's meeting that day. Time flies by the next day. Jiha has entered the next dimension again. After a day of wandering around the forest, there are quite a lot of crops that he got today, not only winter strawberry. There are also 2 piles of different coloured crystals that he found, and of course the more he cannot think he made it, because wherever his footsteps lead, whether it's potion making or hunter needs that are scattered in this forest, and have messed up the daydream of the Jiha, who is still floating around thinking about every mystery here, the insect wings that come not far from the location have now shifted their focus quickly. Only this time he thought he could hear the sound of insects since he arrived in the forest, and of course he quickly looked for the source of the sound here and there, and about 15 minutes he traced the dirt road in the forest until the closer the sound he could hear, then he could clearly see its origin. Pterodrone is a mythic monster insect monster, the size of a small car, in the shape of a coconut beetle, with a fairly large claw like the system board to the Jiha, who became increasingly confused this young man made. How does it differ from the contents of the system board description? Brownish beetles that are seen in front of there is only the size of a small beetle, like ordinary moving in the form of a group of beetles that lost to be approached by the Jiha stretch of the barrier, has also driven the speed of movement, yes. You can only see from a distance he was already approaching also, towards the group of beetles. There was a large group of ants from the aura, and the light of the eyes that they showed to act as invaders of this group of ants. Devil ants in brackets hazard monster, a monster the size of a cargo truck killing 1 ant, would invite 10 other ants present to make it very difficult to destroy their colony. The light of the system again to the Jiha, which is again very different from the description of the system with the actual conditions in the field. Only 3 times larger than the beetles of the ants earlier, and the more surprised again Jiha made if it had been a war like this. Both sides of the monster right in front of his position felt victorious number of moves in the form of a group of beetles there. A squad containing 4 beetles had faced off directly with an ant, and poison fights seemed to have been accustomed to these 2 sides fighting for territory like this. And yes, unfortunately, for the beetle team here is still not enough of their ability to deal directly with the ants. One by one the beetles have fallen, they are cut and bitten by the big ants, just like that, and have also been shot by these beetles with poisonous spit owned by the ants. Smell the term the state of the beetles can be dominated by them all by their opponents, and in the middle of this critical moment, Kring a new notification has asked the system board to the Jiha, who has provided 2 kinds of answer buttons of course, also and clearly realize if he has also been linked in this unexpected battle by the system of choice, yes, directly pressed by the Jiha. Your army is in a losing condition. Now you can use the essence. You have to cast area buffs to troops. 1 increases HP by 30% for 1 hour paid 1 essence. 2 increases poison immunity by 30% for 1 hour paid 1 essence. 3 increases physical immunity by 30% for 1 hour paid 1 essence as well. 4 used the Blessing of the Hired Worker 2 essence to light the system board again to the Jiha, and began to think hard he was here what was the meaning of the essence sentence earlier, which fortunately during the previous tour of the forest had found 2 small yellow crystal blocks. I think this is what the system means well. Because I only have 2, I think the EMP number option is the best for me to choose at this time, the spirit of the young man said there, and immediately he chose option number 4 earlier. Wasp responded directly. Also the system board immediately consumed the 2 Jiha crystals as a means of exchange, and the golden glow had now spread out just like that bright and soothing light that came out, washed perfectly, enveloped the body of the beetle group, which at this time had also changed the radiance of the eyes of each of them. Yes, assisted by the buff effect of the Jiha, can rise again. Quickly the beetles went straight forward. They hit the claws hard and sharp towards the ants, and Jedam clattered stale. The sound of the attack contest both can be heard by our MC group of attacking ants. They make their bodies split cut part by part, and the cheers of the beetles have also been heard at the end of the fight. Look at them, each of them showing a happy expression like a crowding doll, and they approached the Jiha afterwards while stacking the spoils of war to their new master. Hi, there is no need for you to bother giving it to me, but okay, because it seems you are forcing. I will only take part you have fought life during the fight. Take the rest, I gave it to all of you, said Jiha to them at that time, and the stretch of the magical dome that blocked his steps since then has, which Jiha concluded at this time if there was a unique mechanism that this forest imposed on him. I understand me now. I think I will close the shop temporarily. If this is the case, let's see how many mysteries I can solve in the next few days, he said at that time while staring at the sky. And so time passed, just invited to look elsewhere. Now we are precisely to one of the private rooms in the Eternal Flame Guild headquarters at that hunter.net. Well, the last few days, all the posts posted there always contained discussions about Saiyajin, various topics discussed ranging from his solo party to estimates of strength and random guesses about the unique method that Yijin uses when entering the dungeon Manstalker the other day. As for this Yuyan, he entered using his second account, trying to straighten out some oblique issues. Related Yijin's name is in the right position, and when it's been quite a while Sai Yuran is online in the room, Krekaman enters the room to mistake the Choi Chulan lamp, so his name is the position of the chief alchemist, owned by the Eternal Flame Guild. Earlier now from the chat between the two, we only know that since the spread of the news of Yijin's brilliance in the Manstalker dungeon the other day, some of the upper class in Korea have investigated the shop owner, the needs of the hunters that Yijin came to before entering the dungeon, which is the Jiha that they both mean here. And just like the other guilds, Yuran has also been doing the same thing. Busy the Eichel was made a few days back, digging up information about the Jiha, which from his investigation he has reported to the Yuyan. This time it was concluded that the Eichel, if there was nothing special about the skill or trade that Jiha had. So do you want to conclude, Kull, if it has nothing to do with the Jiha's increasing strength when entering the dungeon? Yes, no, miss, the opposite. Even though she doesn't have any skills at all from the reliable information, I found the potion that the young man sold to the Yijin is what we should pay attention to here. Imbue the Yu again to the Yuyan. And he began to explain also about the solar apple, which is the main ingredient for making the potion earlier. Rather suspicious of their value here. Solar apple is very expensive, very difficult to obtain. But why the young man named Jiha? It can sell it at a very cheap price, and there are only 2 possibilities they think related to the issue. The Jiha does not know at all how valuable solar apple was, or indeed, he was a person who does not have a sense of greed. Do not let go, we must not be too late from others to recruit him into our guild, he said there, and also changed the panel afterwards. Back to this side, we are not explained in detail here already during what this young man settled in the forest, but certainly from some of the information dialogue balloons are already far enough Heber Petulung up to the central area of the forest, and it was getting cold air that he could feel there. Was sitting in front of the fireplace while resting, and the conclusion he got from this far, although the barrier dome was gone, and the thick fog cover had also faded, seemed nothing different from the cross-section of the forest area he had visited to this day. Except for one, of course. There is a special area covered by a creepy dark black fog, so it is natural that Jiha is getting bored and intends to return to his shop at that time. But just as he is getting out of his sitting position, some pterodrone beetles have also approached him with a gloomy face, coming with some of their plant seeds, which from the hopeful expression they showed, Jiha can immediately realize if this group of flies asks him to be able to plant some new types of seeds. Ah, well, I see. Then who are you? This is your size bigger than others. Are you the leader of your group? Jiha also asked one of the beetles, the largest in size and crane, one more new notification, as appeared in front of him at that time. The chief of Pterodrone asked you to say their queen. Are you willing to help? Ask the board to the Jiha, who just realized he was if all the offerings they brought a few days ago were a form of bribery, so that he would help them into the mission of life and death concerning the survival of their race, was approved by the Jiha, of course, and immediately occupied himself, also this young man, to make various kinds of potions to be used as the main preparation before the Beatles party descended directly into battle with the party who held their queen hostage. 1 full day of time he needed here, until the next day 2 kinds of potions, and 1 kind of special war food had been brought again by Jiha to this dimension. He gave it directly to the Beatles for their consumption, and immediately moved everything towards the area shrouded in black fog, and yes, it could be seen clearly by Jiha in front. Approximately there are 3 meters in height in the calculation of Jiha, and without much cue anyway been fighting each other genie, both sides bang hard class, always Bersahutin in that place, compete forces, without a doubt both the Beatles and the ants fight for their respective goals. At first glance, it is better than the previous fight the abilities shown by the Beatles in this war, but still, the value of Jiha, despite being helped by potions and buffs from him, is still on the losing side. The Beatles were made by a large colony of ants, and in the middle of the situation it was Kring. Limit it to 1 time you can help the troops with the power you have destroy the Ant Queen, who has wings with your Tapukan, directly pay 3 bright essenced 2 system boards, in sequence to the Jiha, along with having established herself, the figure of the Queen of Ants, who from the advanced system information wants to call troops from other colonies the Queen. Oh, obviously without much thought pack already, Jiha clapping 1 hand to squeeze the Queen was destroyed, so the shape of his body after that, and in the next episode will be told us what effect has happened to the human world, every action Jiha do in this forest dimension. Thank you for watching until the end. Don't forget to subscribe, and goodbye.